Welcome back to my channel. My name is Amanda Rose. If you are new here, hi, I am a high school teacher in Brooklyn, New York. And if you are returning, welcome back. So in my previous video, I discussed 3 things that I wish I had done as a new teacher. And one of them was planning out my first week, like well in advance. And someone left a comment and said, well, can you show us how you plan your first week? And I was like, you're totally right. What a great idea. Instead of just giving you the tips, let me show you how I apply them. So I got to work and I planned out my first week because I will be honest, even though I have a bit of a template that I follow year after year, sometimes I will switch it up, or maybe the placement depending on the first day of school. So for example, the week that we go back, we actually have off on that Thursday. So depending on the week, depending on the day we start, it's always different. So that's what I'm going to be showing you guys in this video. So if you haven't already, please make sure that you like this video. It always helps out my channel, that you subscribe, and let's get into it. What I do the first week of school. So the first thing I'm going to do is just tell you guys all of the things that I try to fit in on the first week of school. And then I'm actually going to change my view and do a screen recording and voiceover so that I can show you how I incorporate some of my icebreakers, what my first day PowerPoint looks like, and then a map of what my first week looks like. So there's a lot that we're cramming into this video. So let's start. First thing is all of the things I try to fit in. My first week, I want to cover icebreakers, a student reflection survey. I do this for my older students. What's a goal that you have for this year? What's one regret you have from last year? It's a ton of questions. I would actually revise this if you're teaching middle school and elementary school. Possibly something a little different in the sense of maybe a get to know me. What's one thing that you're looking forward to about this class? One thing that makes you nervous? I would definitely gear the questions to a much more age appropriate classroom. And then when it comes to icebreakers, I have 2 videos up actually for icebreakers. I have one video that is dedicated to icebreakers in the classroom, and I'll link that in the description. And then I also have a video that's dedicated to virtual icebreakers. So whether you are in the classroom this year, which I believe most of us are, or whether you are going to be virtual again, I've got you covered. So I will link both of those in the description. Okay, icebreakers, student reflection. I want to go over syllabus, class rules, get the students signed up for Google Classroom. I want to have at least one full day of content. I always do a class rules quiz. I'll talk about that in the future, but the reason why I like to do a class rules quiz is because I can always just reinforce, hey, these were the expectations for class, and so we went over them, you had a quiz about them. It's just an easy way to correct misconceptions about the class, and it's also just a really easy grade for them to start off the year. 10 questions about the class rules gets them started with a nice strong 100 in the beginning of the year. And then I also like to go over seating chart. So those are the 8 things that I attempt to do in the first week of school. So now we're actually going to switch over to my screen recording so that I can show you guys the PowerPoint and also show you everything that I do and how I structure that first week. All right, everyone. So this is usually how I start off, depending on the class. This is just an example of something I've done in the past. Welcome to Global History 3-4, and then I have my name. So this is usually what's posted on the screen when the students are walking into the classroom. I always make sure that I greet the students at the door. Hi, good morning, or good afternoon. I never just let them walk in. I always greet them at the door. Okay, then the next slide, I will usually just have a screenshot of the syllabus. Again, my name, my email address for students to contact me, and just would let them know that the class had a Regents exam at the end of the year, which we did not have to worry about for the past 2 years. But either way, it's just a nice thing to let them know the minute they come in, like, hey, we're going to have a great time, but this class also means business. I also just like to tell them that they will be signing up for Google Classroom later on in the week, and that this is just a template of what a lot of their assignments will look like and the due dates for each of them. So they're not doing anything with this information. I'm just showing them so that they have an idea of what to expect in the future. And then I like to tell them a little bit about myself, what I want you to know about me. So I'll show pictures of myself and my husband, of my dog. This is a photograph of some of my favorite alumni from 2017. Those guys went through so much with me that year. I was really, really sick that year and in the ICU. And I just loved the support and the cards and the love. And they were just such a joy to teach. And so I always like to open up and let students know that I love to have a relationship with my student, and that's ultimately what I want from them as well. And then of course I talk about avocados, how I love avocados. I always try to make this a thing. It sounds a little creepy saying it out loud, but avocados becomes my trademark in the classroom, so to say. So students will come up to me, oh, I saw this really great avocado toast recipe, you should try it. Or I saw these really cool avocado socks. Everything avocado related, they end up coming up to me, and it's just a really cute and fun way to have conversations with them, but also make a connection that is beyond content. Then I end up moving to icebreakers, and it's what I want them to know about each other. And so I will usually have a speed dating format for this. Again, this speed dating idea is listed in my video for icebreakers. But what I'll do is I'll line up the chairs across from each other like a speed dating format, and there will be a timer on the board. It's usually for about 90 seconds, sometimes 60, if you see that students are finishing their conversations quickly. And I will just post questions on the board, and for the 90 seconds, they will talk about that, and then we will always have a moment to share out. So here's just an idea of some of the questions: your favorite fast food place and favorite thing to order there. The weirdest thing you've seen on the train. Again, we live in New York City. You see a ton of weird things on the train. If you only had one movie to watch for the rest of your life, what would it be? An embarrassing moment that you're willing to share. What do you look for in a friend? What's your favorite TV show? If you could eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be? What does your ideal life look like? So those are the questions that I usually ask, because they're not the typical, what's your favorite color? What'd you do over the summer? I think that they really are great conversation starters, and I would assume they're probably questions that they don't answer often. Then after that movement activity, I end up moving them to random seats. I let them sit wherever they want, and we fill out a reflection survey. It takes them about 10 minutes. Again, it's what I mentioned to you guys earlier. In general, just questions about their life, questions about blah, blah, blah. That's really what it is. Then I like to give them a Post-it, and I tell them to write one of their goals. So one of the questions on the reflection survey is actually goals. And I tell them to write one of their goals on a Post-it and then to put it in the front of their notebook. Usually it's an academic or a personal goal, and I like for them to at least start off the year thinking about a goal, something that they want to achieve that year. And sometimes if a student is probably giving me a difficult time, or if I feel like they're struggling, I can always refer back to that. Hey, what was your goal again for this year? What was one of your goals? What did you write down in your notebook? And to just kind of navigate their behavior and their mindset back to why they're here and why they're doing what they're doing. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the week. I'm apologizing. I apologize. I believe this is cut off. So it says Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And those are the dates. Of course, I have a typo here: 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. So this is what my week tentatively would look like when we start school in September. So the first thing for the first day, I like students to sit wherever they want to on the first day. I think that students are nervous. Some of them may be new to the school. Some of them may know each other and they want to sit next to their friends. I do not want to be a tyrant on the first day, telling them where they need to sit. I like for students to choose, especially on the first day, because it will allow for ease and comfort. If they want to be the only person in the back, if all 3 rows are taken and the first row is empty, I deal with it for the first day because it's just, I want them to feel comfortable entering in my classroom. Then I'll do the intro slide like you guys saw, talking about myself and the class. Then we do the movement activity, like I said, the icebreaker speed dating, the reflection share out survey, and then students hand in their reflection for teacher comments. This is actually something that's really important. So pretty much this slide that I showed you guys would be my first day of school. I like to collect their reflection survey and make comments on their goals. Oh, great idea. Maybe help them plan out something. If they have a regret from the previous year, maybe they talk about an accomplishment. I remember in previous years, students would talk about winning a championship, a softball championship. And I would love to comment and be like, oh, I was at that game, or so happy for you guys. I do think that it is the first step in creating real relationship with your students. Then next day, I do incorporate a seating chart. So the first day, they sit where they want. You also get a really good idea to scope who are friends and who may be too talkative. So then the next day you can make notes. Okay, these students really like to sit next to each other. They talk a lot. I'm going to separate them. So I always do seating chart next day because then it gives you less of a fuss trying to move them, because if you give a seating chart the first day and then you notice that it was a mess and then you try to change them again, listen, kids will, they're good negotiators. I will say that. I have definitely been manipulated into letting them sit there and they promise they're not going to talk and they promise they're going to do their work, and that does not last very long. So I feel like you let them get it out of their system and then the next day you give a seating chart. Then I also like to do Google Classroom login, where they can just use the code to log into the classroom, make sure that they have access to everything. The next thing is a do now. I like to start with something about history. Why do we think it's important to study history? Or do you think it's important? Why or why not? Something related to the content as a whole. Obviously, if you're not a history teacher, this can be anything at all. Then I like to do another movement activity. I try to incorporate movement activities a lot, especially at my school. We have 56-minute classes. There is no way that a child can sit there for 56 minutes and not move around. So I like to do a 4 corners activity, and this really helps create systems and structures in the classroom. You can start it early, so by the time it is October and you want to do something really cool with your students, you can, because you've already established movement activities and listening skills in the beginning of the year. And again, maybe something like 4 corners, statements. Oh my God, another typo, you guys. I cannot. Teacher brain is not on right now. I'm still in July brain. But usually something related to history and also personal questions to get them moving around. And then we can also do share outs. Then Wednesday, I would actually incorporate class rules and give them highlighters, or maybe tell them to underline things that stick out to them about the rules. Some things will be common sense, other things may be funny. So what are some things that stick out? And then we will share those things out loud. Now, why do I do class rules and syllabus on a Wednesday and not a Monday? Because most of the time, the first 2 days, even the whole first week of school, I have a lot of absences. And so I don't want to go over something so important such as class rules and syllabus if I know that students are usually out. So I try to wait until at least the 3rd day of school, which is when attendance does start to improve. A syllabus, scavenger hunt, students can just get paired. I ask questions, they look for the answers in the syllabus, and I would then introduce the first unit of study. How exactly would I do this? Maybe with a question that's specifically related to the first unit. For example, in government, our first unit is the purpose of government. And so I would just ask a question like, what are the purposes of government? And some kids will say to keep us safe, to protect us, to make sure our health is okay. A variety of questions, and then we can really dive deep into that. Okay, in what ways does the government keep us safe? In what ways does the government protect us? And that can open up a whole conversation that would end our Wednesday. And then I would like students to know that they're actually going to have a class rules quiz on the Friday that we come back. So Thursday, there is no school. And then Friday, when we come back, there will be a class rules quiz. That would be the first thing that we do. And then we would begin our first full day of content on that Friday, whatever that may look like. So this is pretty much it. Again, I'm sorry for all the typos and for the screen being cut off, but I feel like you guys get the point. You are smart people. And that is pretty much it. This is what my first week looks like. Okay, you guys, so there was a lot of information there. That this information was helpful for you to see how I usually plan out my first week. There's a lot of logistical things that we go through, a lot of systems and structures that we have to get past, signing kids up for things, possibly showing them their school email address, not to mention all of the things that the school might ask you to do as well during certain class time. So this is always tentative, but for the most part, these are all of the things that I try to incorporate every first week of school. And that is pretty much it. Again, don't forget to like, to subscribe. I hope this video was helpful. If I'm missing anything, if you do other things during the first week of school that I do not, please put that in the comments below. I like to learn from you guys too. I am not the expert. I just share my experience. So please put that in the comments if you have anything to share with myself and with fellow teachers. And that is it, you guys. I will see you in the next video.